话，虽然他们队伍就是 MG 在成绩上不是很好，但是我对他这个中端的印象还是很深的。就是怎么深呢？第一点就是首先长得就比较帅嘛，比较阳光。然后的话，他在那个对线方面，我觉得算是一个单杀比较多的中单吧，我也比较认可他的实力。
Well, I mean, we said the same thing. Icon is a very handsome man. My name's Jake Asterix. This is Jimmy Preacherfield, and he does have a lot of solo kills at the mid lane. He can't go wrong there from Xiaohu. But of course, in game number 1, RNG walked through Icon, and it was Xiaohu himself who didn't have to deal with Icon, and that's why MVP, Mr. Man, goes to you, good sir. RNG game 1. Man, he deserved it.
Not only do you swap him out for the top laner, but you also put him on Sylas and watch his ultimates go. The two key highlight ones were the Sion ultimate and also the Ashe ultimate, busting down all of the engagements for his team.
Yeah, I love the Ashe Arrow versus Ashe Arrow. That really just swept through from Xiao.
His one was better.
Yeah, his one was a lot better. I mean, Jelly just got a taste of his own medicine. RNG, that was such a good return to form after Sino Dragon, but his Sion ultis as well, Preacher. You're darn right, this one was big.
Yeah, straight down onto Chelly. ADC's gone before you can even have any other part of the fight. Watch Penguin run off from the side. He didn't want this fight before it even started, and you have to ask for the side of OMG. Where exactly are they trying to play towards? Because they clearly knew, Penguin knew before that fight even started, that all he wanted to do was ulti over the wall. He didn't want to take any sort of that action. Why was Chelly moving forward to try and contest that? Who knows? And ultimately they fall for it.
Yeah, no, OMG, you're struggling there, but that's been the story of their whole season as well. That's what Xiao said, that, you know, OMG have struggled, and Icon is still a standout. It's still about the star power of this mid lane for OMG. It continues to be their, you know, growing struggles. But in this second game, going for the red side, they want to try and, you know, find something here in this game number 2. You know, similar sides, so hearts to them.
Yeah, hopefully they, I mean, you were looking for the best transition possible.
Like,
Look, hopefully they can play towards their strengths. So number 1, pick Icon something weird. And number 2, make sure that you get him ahead. Because you remember that Vayne game that he played. Man, he was in a prime position to carry. So if you could do both of those things, then hopefully he can take away the rest of the game.
If my coach said to me, if I was a pro player, my coach said, pick something weird, I'd be like, man, we're firing you. We're getting you out the door. I don't care. Goodbye. Like, if my coach
It's not the only condition.
No, let's phrase it a bit better. Pick something unique.
Yeah, pick something that your opponents haven't necessarily practiced against and you have practiced playing.
Right.
Because that way, you catch him off guard, you can pretty much win laning phase safely, and after that point, you're pretty snowball.
All right, well, simple as that. That's it's a good point. Icon picking something unique. It is not the story about OMG though. It's still the story about RNG. Game 1 is a win. Game 2, if it's a win, you have top 5 guaranteed. If they win this series, it's top 5 guaranteed no matter what. You want the 2-0. You want to make sure your win-loss record is as clean as possible when you're going up against EDG and TOP for position number 4, when it looks like IG, TOP themselves have got them got locked in that top 3.
Yeah, that's where they're looking towards, and this game will be the pickup match for them, because right now RNG sitting 9-5, 1 game left. This, of course, is it. And after all 15 rounds are completed for every single team, when we tally it up, RNG should be up there if they can manage a 2-0 OMG today.
Potentially, of course, top 5. Remember again against JDG and what's the other team? No. You're taking me away from it. This was the problem with 2 Australians. So many shenanigans in just 10 minutes.
What are you talking about?
TOP, IG, and FPX just secured first before.
Yep. You're also talking about EDG up there?
EDG, thank you so much. EDG, RNG, and JDG are in their own little bubble as well. So, although being secured by EDG and RNG last night, there is still positioning to be talked about. Anyway, I'll move on before we just, you know, go downhill and literally, you know, go to a Bunnings before we know it. Miss Bunnings. I miss Bunnings.
I miss the snags as well. But
Sorry.
hold on. No, we need to move on.
Down the hill we go.
Yeah, 100% we need to move on. And so is RNG, because they have definitely revitalized their play. Moving Zatai and Xiaohu up freely between the solo laners.
Yeah.
I love that. That is hot.
That was
hotter than a Bunnings snag.
Yeah, that was hotter than a Bunnings snag. And Onion needs to go on top, because otherwise you'll slip and die. This is game 2 of like, okay, let's reset expectations. Zatai should go top lane. Xiaohu should be middle once again. Zatai will be facing a new top laner from OMG. Xiang's coming in over Arla, and I'm quite surprised, but after game 1 performance, maybe I shouldn't be too surprised.
Of course, shaking things up, making sure that OMG have a better one for them. I also like the fact that there was a handsome factor coming in for Icon. Xiang is a very handsome man in his own right. We'll see his picture in a second once we get the player cams. But other than that, yeah, picking somebody up, getting a breath of fresh air to make sure that they can get the top lane rolling is really what we have to watch out for. His carry champions are especially to die for.
Well, look, Xiang hasn't played too many games this season. This is actually a big surprise to me for OMG. They've played Arla more than 70% of the split. That's a rough estimate, you know, but it's been the split of Arla and his, you know, growing pains, his struggles. How does a rookie develop in the top lane? And I'd say really, really well. For Xiang, I don't rate him as a top lane in comparison to Arla, so there's got to be a big reason here for OMG bringing him in.
Also, it is, if nothing else, just bringing him in for the experience, because we still need him to be fresh coming into this. Even though they're not looking towards playoffs, OMG still do have second split to contend for. And from their performances in the first split, even though they've dropped a whole lot of these series, their individual game wins, when they have been looking pretty good.
Yeah, they have really been looking good. The Riven we saw in the mid lane from Icon, top lane, the Sion had, you know, its moments as well. But when you have a Sylas against it, you just lose your ultimate. You're like, well, their Sion's better. Apparently, he's not even playing Sion.
Yeah.
Rough.
I mean, the ultimate stealing as well. The fact that they can pretty much engage in whatever they want, and it's also on Xiao, who has been performing reasonably well for RNG this split. It is a bit of a heartbreak.
Yeah, it really is. As OMG into the stage, looking to stop down RNG by, as of course you can see Xiang at the end, just setting himself up nice and early and getting back on stage. OMG just looking to cement their second last series. Remember, they still have one more to end the split off as well, but RNG, this is their very last split, and this could be their very last game of the regular season of Spring. And I'm curious as to what happens next. We saw the Sylas in Game 1. We saw ourselves a little slice of paradise with Karsa's Taliyah in the jungle. I'm ready for Game 2.
Do not go out with a whimper, go out with a bang. If the first game's draft was anything to go by, I expect to see a whole lot of shenanigans, especially for RNG, because even though they did pick up the Sylas very early, they were still able to utilize it by switching it around their players. It just means that a whole bunch of champion pools are open. And it's very funny that we talk about switching up their players, because when we take a look at Xiang, originally used to be a mid laner as well, so he is very privy to those champions in his own right, although I doubt he'll be going into the mid lane.
Yeah, no, who knows? I mean, we've already seen a swap one game, and that was, of course, due to the Sylasing matchup and nature of the Sylas. Not sure that'll be let through again. OMG have opted to go red side once more, letting the Sylas through his poo. The first pick blue. It is like poo if you're versing it, by the way.
All right.
You can't let that through again.
You redeemed it by the end, but yeah, you definitely need to take it off the pick list, because pretty much every single team that's neglected to do so has ran into a whole lot of trouble. I believe Sylas has a very high win rate within the LPL, so that is definitely a worry coming into the ban phase.
You would be surprised. It's not as high as you would think at the moment. We'll get those stats to you in a little while, as I will hardly work away on my little laptop in a second. But while we do think and contemplate that over, yeah, the Sylas being a big pick in the LPL has only risen to occasion as we've jumped back into 9.5 as the unban has come through. We did see Sylas into a Yorick the other night as well, and it was perfect, so
I was holding my breath.
No need to fear it disappearing once again.
Yeah, not gonna lie, I was holding my breath, but the fact that he's back and the fact that he's having such a high impact by stealing all of these ultimates, we've seen especially the engage ultimates come out for Sylas, it's been too much for opposing teams to handle, so if we take this off this game, then we might see more of a normal setup.
Yeah, potentially the Rek'Sai getting banned away as well, no Lissandra. Uzi playing his Kalista once again. You said that Uzi's played a lot of Kalista so far here in this regular split. Well, I expect to see that as a priority here in Game 2.
Also expect to see what the response to that Kalista was, because the first game, it was Ashe, didn't quite work out as much as they would have liked. Of course, the engagers weren't there in the bottom lane. Fair enough. I mean, how can you really engage down onto an ADC who's already 2-0 before you even get your ultimate? It's a very hard situation, and they just need to make sure that they get to the stage in which they can counter Uzi and potentially shut him down, because that's exactly where RNG played through.
Super hard as well, because Karsa picked up the Taliyah, and Taliyah level 2 gank is so brutal to deal with. Seismic shove, stone throw. You got everything in your pocket. You got so much burst damage with the electrocute. And it's oppressive. And They made it work. They took a couple of summoners early on. Repeat gank from Kasa. Double kill to Uzi. Lights out for the bottom lane at OMG.
Yeah, the Taliyah pick was a complete 180 from Penguin's Evelynn because Evelynn couldn't do anything before level 6, so naturally there was a lot of focus from Kasa. I hope to see that OMG could potentially pick out something that Penguin is more comfortable on. I'm not going to say that he is a bad Evelynn because he's played the most Evelynn games in the LPL this split.
Yeah, now
but he still needs to go back to what he's tried and tested on, namely the Xin Zhao and the Kindred.
Yeah, you definitely wanted to see the Kindred in that game 1.
I did. I'm fine for him.
So, I know. More questions here as we're about to jump on in. I believe we are waiting for Xiang still just to get set up. But coming in, you know, when you come into a series like this, if you're Xiang, you're simply in there to be like, cool, what's happening with Arla? What can I do better? What can I fix? Because, again, like Xiang, I think 3-4 games we've seen him in this split. Really not at all. OMG, and they've been a team that have been changing up their lineup, especially through the jungle, just not the top lane. So the fact that Penguin's still in there, you know, we haven't seen Best 16 since he played Riven Jungle. And I have to say, if that is the last series that he played, I am sorry to Best 16, but that is a way to go out.
Man, you just keep on bringing it up every single time we talk about OMG and the jungle in specific. I don't want to touch that anymore. I want to touch on the current person who's out, which is Arley. And the reason for that is because he has been picking a whole lot of these engage top laners like the Sion and like the other tanks as well. However, missing his mark because he can't quite find the correct times for his team to engage. Maybe it's time to change it up to Xiang, who can play more carry and be another damage threat. Because if you're not the team who's engaging all of these fights, and if you're waiting for RNG to do these wombo combos like we saw in game number 1, all of a sudden having another damage member doesn't look too bad.
But the thing is, for OMG, Arlo does play the carries. Arlo is such a good carry player. I mean, he's versatile, and his one-on-ones, like, he's had amazing Fiora games. So the thing is, bringing Xiang in for the carry potential is a big question mark to me. We'll see what the change actually is, because remember Xiang, you know, like Ornn and a lot of the top lanes that we expected to see back in the meta. For OMG, like, a lot of talk about OMG. I'm gonna move to RNG because I'm excited. I'm excited for RNG. They'll have to make a larger run no matter what because they will not secure first or second. There is no way that they can secure second, so they start minimum quarterfinals. Even then, they're relying on other teams, and most likely they're going to be starting out in round 1 of the bracket as a 5th or a 6th seed. That's a rough start for RNG, but they've run the bracket before. Why couldn't they do it then? Let's find out. Game 2, RNG, OMG. And I want to see Sal's first pick again.
Hysterics, I didn't hear a but in the middle of that sentence. I don't know exactly where you were going with that because RNG has ran the gauntlet many times and they are very proficient at best of fights.
You know what I mean. You know what I mean. They're not starting at the top. You know.
Yes.
All right. Thank you for fixing it. I don't know what's going on, man. You know, just talk about Bunnings on air.
Yeah, but what we do know is that Silas is still open until OMG decide otherwise. Let's see that.
We do. Let's go. 17 seconds. Lock it on down. I definitely don't want to see it, and it will be banned away. Of course, OMG haunted by that game number 1 out of Xiaohu. So, readjust the schedule. They would have thought this would have been banned away. Let's see what gets prioritized instead.
Immediately what I think about is Lissandra, because that is one of the majors who we haven't seen too much of recently. However, still available for the side of RNG. It's naturally a good pickup. Xiaohu has been very good on the engages, and nothing's really changed for him to go off of it.
Definitely hasn't. Is Sion first pick worthy, though?
Big question mark. I'm not going to say definitively yes, but RNG have an idea in mind. So we'll have to wait and see exactly why they picked this so early on in the rotation.
I mean, Xiang, surprised, like, what meta have I just walked into? What is this you're putting me up against?
He's staring at it and he's like,
oh,
wait,
yeah.
Isn't this my strategy? Did I want the Sion?
When we have seen Xiang, though, we've seen his Yorick in the top lane. It's been one of his strongest picks. So OMG playing to their strengths themselves.
I'm curious to see how exactly Xiang plans to counter this lane, because while he will always have the 1v1, because Conquerors is very strong into Sion and you can instantly proc it with your E as a Yorick, it does mean that he's going to have a different impact, and namely so he's not going to be joining the team fights as hard as a Sion with the ulti.
But I mean, you pick that to dominate the lane. Xiang goes straight into the Sion. Remember that Xiaohu can still play this in the mid lane. Galio gets locked in as well. RNG just having not a field day, a fun day with this pick ban so far.
Yeah, I think that it succeeded enough for us to see a second game of the Taliyah, so not a lot of questions for that. But the question is, which jungle do we see on OMG now? because the Taliyah was very influential in the early game. Level 1, 2, and 3 is what I have in mind. The level 2 cheese gank onto the bottom lane. So OMG needs to respond in kind.
I like this pick ban already. What do you want to play against the Taliyah? Go Nidalee, have the 1v1 pressure. Penguin also plays a lot of the Kindred. You wanted to see it and we get locked in.
I was waiting for this for like 1.5 series, and finally we get to see the Kindred. It means that Penguin finally gets to go back to his ADC style carry champions, and it also means that if Ashe isn't banned away for Chelly, Chelly can just play a defensive type of ADC and allow the rest of his team to get ahead with all of the carries.
We'll see, because they start banning away AD carries off the list. Kalista, Victor, of course, which has been flexed around the map recently.
Have
for
seen
the
that
LPL.
on the Chelly as well.
Yeah, we have. Chelly was one of the first initiators of the mage bottom lanes back in the earlier meta. Remember, Ashe still open, as you mentioned before. See what OMG ban away, because Uzi's still yet to have an AD carry as well.
Well, if you're Uzi, you could just pick up anything that you like. A Kaiser is open. You could also go for something that has very early game pressure.
Ooh.
I'm looking at the RNG composition, and I'm thinking that while you do have the early game, you might want to pick something that just completely bullies out the lane 100-0. Maybe even something risky like a Caitlyn that we've seen very occasionally.
Maybe. Uzi's also played the Halo Blades Tristana in this bottom lane, and while Chelly knows that his Vayne is open, he denies it away. Now for Uzi, you have a couple of options. You mentioned the Caitlyn before, but going more towards the meta, for Uzi, that Halo Blades Tristana, or... No, Kog'Maw, I'm sorry. I'm just getting ahead
Don't
of
play
myself.
with my heart like that. I don't want to see these hyper carries so late into the
Oh, I do.
split and the run as well. So Uzi probably doesn't want to go for the Kaiser because it's not the best matchup into the Vayne. I have to see.
Never mind. All right.
We're still waiting.
That's an Aurelia, but we are still waiting. You saw a quick flex there before with the Varus. Could be more than likely here for Uzi, but we'll wait and see.
We'll have to see, because once again, it all comes down to the matchup in the bottom lane. RNG want to carry through this lane, so if they can get the favorable matchup, they know it's into a Vayne and Tahm Kench will be semi-defensive but still cannot win.
There we
They
go.
just want to barrier it out with superior range and also poke from the piercing arrow.
Played it more than enough times here in the LPL. Varus makes its return. Quite a rare pick here. RNG fix up their composition. How do OMG fix up theirs? Vladimir in the mid lane.
Could definitely be the thing that nails everything else together, because the AoE is lacking from OMG, so if they can get the Vladimir ultimate to get all members of RNG down, it could be the bridge that they desperately need inside of the 5v5. Just want to talk a little bit more about the bottom lane matchup, but we could do that when we get into game. For now, we need to see Penguin, and we need to see his early game pathing to see if he can potentially bring OMG back into the series.
What I'm curious about most of all, though, is where's the tie going? Sion, Aurelia. So far, it looks like he's on the Aurelia in the top lane against the Yorick, and
But
I
is he
love
in the
this.
top lane?
This is the biggest turnaround, though. Maybe not. They first pick the Sion, they pull out the Yorick, and then they come into their last rotation with an Aurelia. It could just be a bait all along, or they could be swapping around again, Preacher. Who knows? But what I know from RNG is that they've been playing coy with OMG. They've been playing around the bend and bringing OMG with them.
Not gonna lie, don't really like the Aurelia matchup into the Yorick because he is very oppressive when you can't jump away, so have to maybe assume that the Sion's gonna be into the Yorick.
I will say, however, though, against the Yorick, you can jump on his sons. 1, 2, 3. You know, jump on his wife
Four
as
of
well, and then boom! Straight onto Yorick.
Yeah.
So that's quick stacking there of the flawless duet. What's it called? Defiant Dance? No. Blade Surge. Got it. Nailed it.
You got there eventually, but the point is that Yorick will always have the shove even if you can kill all of his ghouls, so you need to watch out for that. And also the gold differential is very heavily skewed because Yorick can deny you away from last hitting the minions, and when you last hit the ghouls, they count as 1 CS, so you're on lower gold than you initially just assume looking at the CS matchup.
Potentially, of course, remember, Preacher, they did stop counting CS there with the Yorick minions. Only 2 gold now as well for each individual one. So we'll see what happens, because OMG, top laner versus top laner, a fresh start here. As the tie, yeah, there's the carry threat we love to see. On to Xiang, who, a fresh face in himself. OMG, second last series. For RNG, this could be it. Last time you see Zatai, Xiaohu, Uzi, Ming, and Kasa before we jump into playoffs. And with a composition like this running the Taliyah 2 games straight, it gets me excited for RNG in playoffs. It tells me that this is a team who knows their windows and knows they can play around the draft. Game number 2 gives us an opening in that window once again to climb through and see what happens here with RNG. I think we got to go RNG. I think that's it.
Yeah.
Or it's the other way around. I'm not too sure, but over in Chengdu tonight, it's a little bit quiet. Some would say too quiet as we enter Summoner's Rift.
Not me. That first game was explosive. I really liked it, so I hope to see this game mirror it.
Okay, we've actually got the standardized lanes here. So Xiao's going to be in mid lane with the Sion, going up against the Vladimir. Of course, Vladimir with Phase Rush. I know Klepto to abuse. You can't really do that here, not knowing who's going where, but Aurelion to Yorick.
I like it because Icon's main job is to be AoE in the middle of the team fight. So first of all, he needs to get there, and second of all, into a melee matchup regardless of what it is, being able to move away faster is always a perk.
It's also a perk seeing that they press the attack on the Kindred. A lot of the time recently we've seen the Conquerors. We're going to see a quick engage here from Kasa. Spots out Penguin, who waiting for the seismic shove still, but he's got a rock toss. Burning down Penguin, flashes out of vision. Might find it with the smite.
Oh!
Kasa! That was an insane 1v1 outplay.
Don't forget, it was not only the smite that gave him HP, but also Red Buff was recovering it. He was just waiting for Penguin to go for his usual route down into the Scuttle Crab and immediately catches him in transit.
And that's going to be so rough. Mark denied there from the Kindred 2. Caster's going to back with first blood gold. And that's the start for RNG that just gets them forward into such an early jungle skirmish.
Man, that is exactly what we were expecting coming out of this, although I didn't think that it would happen at level 2. Immediately rushes it from his red buff to intercept Penguin. That was such smart play coming out from Kasa, and also means that Penguin doesn't have the carry potential until much later into the game. This was it because Penguin naturally wants to go towards his mark on the Scuttle Crab, tries to 1v1 Kasa, but the flash away means that Kasa can flash towards the crab for the smite. Take a look at the red buff. It just wasn't enough, and the red buff of his own killed him up.
Crab positioning out of 10. Scuttle Crab just working for RNG there. But most importantly, Penguin's flash into the brush was fantastic. Like, that was a great outplay by Penguin. Just unfortunate the Scuttle Crab was nearby, and the smite goes over to Kasa. So a better outplay wins. We'll now find one in the bottom lane as well. OMG 3 versus 2. Uzi's out of position once again. The taunt will go in, but Penguin recovers and helps Shelly do so too.
Very smart to give it to Chelly as opposed to take it for himself. Usually junglers want to get the early kill so that they can impact the rest of the map, but they know that this is going to be a very difficult matchup for Chelly. Immediately gives him the gold to even it out and make sure that he can get a Vampiric Scepter to not get poked out.
Almost died as well. Poke coming through from Uzi, but he teleports back to lane. Return gank as Chelly heals up.
Here's the TP as well.
Oh, the flash forward. Ming now has to survive. Teleport was cancelled in the top lane, however. Now watch for Uzi as the damage is there. The flash away from Ming. Oh, man, Uzi is just going to burn down 3 members at once. 5 will have to pop the grey health, but walks out of there. Penguin, Chelly, 5 are all too low to stay.
And that is what happens when you just get baited by your own TPs. Icon used it in the mid lane because he wanted to join, immediately got knocked up by Xiaohu. Usually when we see TPs, it's to bait the enemy, but that baited themselves in the top lane.
Now for Zatai onto Xiang, the flash immediately away from the seismic shoves Zatai underneath turret, and drops from the cage, has to flash. Xiang waits for the timing and secures it.
That's why I don't quite like the matchup. Caster also going in to try to make an influence, but you can't really dive at Yorick, not this early on in the game, not with the grasp either, and Xiang is on full HP after all of that.
He has teleport available, burnt the flash in that engagement, so did Zatai. Caster coming over the top lane, exploiting that advantage he gained early on as well. While Penguin takes some of his Raptors, so the recovery game now in effect for OMG's jungler.
It is, but we still need to watch out for both of these two junglers and their power spikes. Penguin could definitely make an influence right now, whereas Kasa did the best that he could and now needs to make a race to level 6 to get the Weaver's Wand.
potentially, as mid lane. Hang on.
Oh boy.
This is the 1v1 as a
Oh,
Sion.
boy.
Xiaohu hammers him down and did not
Wait
expect
a
the damage. And now
second.
Penguin walked into for
What?
an ulti. Smacked down by Xiaohu Sion.
Get out of my lane. Immediately looks Icon in the face. He knows that how much damage he can do with his shield pop as well. And after Penguin got there, the level 6 from the solo kill gives him the ultimate access to bust him down as well.
I love how the Sion with Spellbook just comes on in and hits hard. Even going to Rejuve beat and Null Magic resist. There was no extra damage for the Sion. Just pure potential as Karsa comes into the bottom lane. Shelly has to dodge away from the Seismic Shove. And RNG up 2,000 gold at 6 minutes in the game.
Would you say, combined between the Q and the ultimate, that was a truck ton of damage coming out from Xiaohu? Because it definitely hit Penguin that hard.
Boy, you're definitely on the fence with that one, Preacher. I don't know.
I tried.
Oh, hang on. Zatai almost level 6 as well. Maiden has actually just spawned. Zatai needs to get out of this cage. Defiant Dance to reduce the damage. Penguin coming in as well. Maiden is going to slow him down. So is Penguin. 1, 2, 3. There goes Wolf. Penguin picks up the kill.
Penguin coming in because he knows exactly how that was going to pan out before it even started. The only minion that the Tai could have leaped to was the one that he did, which was very close to the river, allowed Penguin to come in and pick that one up with ease.
I'm really concerned though, because every time OMG look for a play, RNG are responding. Karsa's down here, level 5 still, but underneath the turret, Shelly and 5 have to be careful because the wave pool is just not going to be there. Karsa will back away, pressure still applied, but look at how far Uzi is ahead in this lane.
They definitely are using their lane pressure to their maximum. We got to watch out for this one again because this is a solo kill that we were actually looking forward to. Icon gets taken down by the shield. The shield actually expires, but the autos are enough. And when he gets level 6 to turn onto Penguin, who's only level 3, by the way, just a casual double the level difference allows Xiaohu to just auto him down with ease.
That hammer, absolutely OP, just autos them both to death.
Yeah.
Ulti back into Penguin as well. Alright, Xiaohu's about 10 CS ahead, has 2 kills. Going Sterix Gage first, of course, and Xiang has lane swapped on him. But guess what? Karsa knows exactly where you're going, what you're doing.
Oh
Xiang
boy.
just got to this lane, will be ignited, and now, bye-bye!
What can you say? This is a defining game for Xiaohu right now. First of all, plays Sylas in the top lane. Second of all, plays Sion in the mid lane. This doesn't even look like a tank. I think he's going damage this game.
Yeah, Sterix Gage, Infinity Edge, let's go. Sion mid going great, and the bottom lane just keeps on getting better. That's a Sion ulti. Where's it coming from? A flank! What?
Dang.
What a flank! Xiaohu has to flash out of the way. Decimating smash. Penguin, enjoy death! Because with Uzi and 3 kills, now suddenly there's more on the map.
I'm just going to say it right now. If Xiaohu doesn't get MVP for this game, I'm going to be very mad. That was such a great roam coming out of the mid laner.
God.
Goes in from the back as well. I mean, how do you counter that as OMG? You don't even expect a sign from that angle.
Shelly just smiling. He's asking himself, what the heck just happened? I cannot believe this game for RNG looks clinical.
Take a look at him. He
Wow.
drives past Penguin, express lane into the bottom, and then he knocks up Penguin before he can even use his ulti in the air so Kindred can't save herself.
That seismic shove coordination with Xiaohu. Karsa puts them in the exact right spot. Xiaohu steam tanks right to the middle. And I have not seen cleaner execution coming out of Game of Thrones. Like, that was just perfect.
RNG, they're looking to make a statement at game, and they definitely are against OMG this series. It's all hinged on their mid laner, but man, Karsa and Xiaohu, if you ever see them roll on the map at the same time, keep your eyes peeled. You don't want to blink.
You're already so far behind as OMG. There's a 4K gold lead at 9 minutes. Colonel, go higher, champion.
Herald's not even up, Hysterics.
Man.
Look at it.
And Karsa has a lead in the jungle too. Top lane, the Aurelia matchup, smacking down now onto the Vladimir. But that's not even important anymore. Yorick's forced to go mid. And with a Maiden that's not even up, everything's looking grim, quite literally here for OMG.
And RNG have the capacity to do whatever they want onto the map. It's theirs for the taking, and they want to get security around the dragon. That's going to be their next biggest objective because Mountain's going to help them with all of this turret plating. We like to say that they get an early lead, but before 14 minutes, it's only rolled past 10 right now. A Mountain would definitely help with the turret
Well, I
plating.
mean, who cares about the dragon? Let's get turret plating down to the maximum. It's 10 minutes in, Bottom lane's going to continue to push up with a massive wave clear that Caster just adds. And Blade of the Ruined King on Varus, you cannot fight if you're that bottom lane. That turret is going down now.
Definitely a huge fan, because this is just going to be a plate game. It's going to make sure that RNG gets so much gold onto their jungler and also ADC.
Yep.
It worked.
Well, give us 5k gold lead. Let's keep going. This is the biggest stop I've seen from RNG. Arguably this split. This is the strongest early game, I think I could say they've had.
And it's not even due to cheese, let me mind you, but Xiaohu's looking here.
Yeah, let's go 1v2 again this time. Zatai's going to come in, tries to come around the side for a quick drift. Icon, that's right, be careful. Remember, there's a smite here. It's just going to reset. Safety first. As Caster picks up the Mountain Drake and now might even scuttle top himself.
So you casually say that that was a reset, but that was actually a really good one played from RNG. They managed to avoid it to make sure that Penguin can't even smite it down. It's been neutralized onto the map, and RNG still have the advantage because it was a Mountain Drake for nothing.
You know what OMG is saying? They're like, lads, we scale. We scale, don't worry, we get there. That's going to be a long time getting there, quote unquote. 6k gold lead just about. Penguin getting his own jungle is rough. Like, you got to be scared wherever you go. Caster back, so you're lucky for now, punk.
The only reason why you got to be careful is because Xiaohu went into his jungle in order to gank the bottom lane. But apart from that, you need to watch out for wards and make sure that you're ever vigilant for that.
Yep.
OMG are lucky right now because there are no wards currently placed that are particularly deep for RNG. The only one that is in Tribe Rush in bottom lane. Oh, nice.
Yeah, good dodge from Icon, but hello, Ming! Good flash. Justice Punch not going to be taken. Sango and pull out. Uzi takes the ultimate now. RNG, please don't do this. Great condemn from Vayne. OMG live on as Ming is caught out as well from the side. Trying to get the knock up here. Galio Hero's entrance. He escapes, but Ming almost dies in the fray as well. They flash on in. Icon still doesn't have the ulti, but they get one. RNG, are you kidding me? Please leave this fight now. I don't want to see this again. They lost 2 members. And that is just interesting.
OMG outplaying the situation, knowing that Uzi goes ahead with Ming without any of the other members there, immediately called their members up to the top lane. Sure, there was a teleport that eventually took Xiaohu there, as well as Caster naturally joining, but it was too little too late, and Ming was more or less condemned to death before anybody could even help him.
But Uzi, Ming caught out once again in this top lane. Seems like I'm just rinsing and repeating here for RNG, showing some weakness to their roster. Winning very heavily for Icon here.
Definitely, and I can see what Ming wanted to do there because he wanted to taunt Icon out, but ranged champions don't move. Condemned out of the ultimate from Penguin as well means that he has no chance to escape. And while this was very nicely done by Ming, eventually gets caught up by Icon, who flashes in to get the last few autos.
I don't think he wanted to use the stopwatch there as well, so I'm going to send my couple of question marks out. Xiaohu just recovers the play to a small degree. But now on the top side, RNG, look, they still have the gold lead. They can still play around with this a little bit more as Rift Herald gets dropped down.
The last little bit of
a lot going to be taken here. Look at the rotations. Only Chelly and 5 here, versing 3 members of RNG with full turret plating. Yeah. Oh, that's going to be another push. There's no way that OMG can defend this tier 2 with Xiaohu walking up as well. But hang on, Zatai, 1v1. Let's go. Vanguard's edge doesn't land. Here comes the Crimson Rush. Goodbye, Zatai.
Outplayed by Icon, immediately goes into the pull once the ultimate is thrown out by Zatai, knows the animation so well and avoids it, takes out the solo kill because of it.
And although he doesn't lose the maximum because you get 2 turrets, Rift Herald just having a good old journey himself. A very illegal kind. 14 minutes in. This is still RNG's game. Don't get me wrong, but OMG still clawing onto the potential of finding their way back in.
Not even 15 minutes, 5k gold lead. RNG can do what they will. However, because the Drake is down and also Baron won't be spawning for another 5 minutes, they have to tamper their playstyles, and if they wish to engage, it has to be on their favorable terms as opposed to baiting. I think that even then, it's a very good game for themselves, because let's not forget, Xiaohu had a massive play in the early game, and he can still engage on that Sion.
Definitely can. Xiaohu has Sterak's Gauge, hasn't picked up his second item just yet. That looks like, yep, alright, we're going back to normality. Unless you go Iceborne Gauntlet from here, that'd be fun.
It's not an Iceborne, it's a Righteous Glory. Look at that build up.
Yeah, alright. You still got yourself the Glacial Shroud. That's 1,700 gold from turret plating. That's almost the full map.
Dang.
It's pretty insane. Despite what happened in the past couple of minutes from RNG, still looking absolutely on top. Give yourself a bounty, Xiaohu. Give yourself a small gold lead. Top lane has a gold lead. Jungle has the majority of it. And no, sorry, Uzi has the majority of it. He's almost got 3k.
And now you got to watch out because RNG is clumped and their 5-man ultis are ready for a team fight.
Yeah, they are. Look who's at the front. Jelly's there. Ming ready for shielded Durant. Sion ulti's in front first. Xiaohu getting tankier by the minute. The Penguin takes up the Winds of War, but it means nothing because OMG clear out the wave and are ready to stop this potential next engage.
The idea was that Xiaohu executes onto them, but here it is.
Oh, good win war, but Icon might just be able to walk away into 5's belly. Ultimate's expended from RNG, but not much given.
Yeah, very minimal being taken away. I was about to say that the major plan for Xiaohu was to go deep with that ultimate and then immediately use Mings to follow up for the knockup, but they respect the tower, they respect the fact that they're not that tanky this early on in the game, especially seeing as it's a Styrax Sion as opposed to something like a Sunfire, so they play the cautious game.
While Xiang sits on the side and starts bringing some contentious gold back into OMG's hands. 5k the difference. Nope, 6,000 the difference. Where's that Abyssal Voyage going? Oh, hello. That was an ulti used by 5.
Good rotation.
Just to get Icon into the lane to save it, but I feel like they might just die.
I mean, they might not die, but they're definitely going to get shoved out from this lane because it's a lot of poke coming out between the Taliyah and also the Varus. So they need to watch out, and they need to be very safe and rotate the rest of the members along to here in case they get engaged on by the Sion.
Very right, Icon is not going to die just yet. It's 3-1 on this Vladimir too. So, still looking at OMG with bated breath as this game 2 has been full of surprises.
Yeah, Icon is the carry potential for OMG.
He is the surprise.
If ever they were to come back, it should be because Icon gets a multi-man ultimate down onto RNG, but it's looking more and more difficult by the second because OMG do not have the correct tools to engage. They need to wait for RMG to botch one like we saw with Xiaohu headbutting the turret and then try to counter-engage off of that.
I would be expecting Xiao to not make any more of those whimsical plays. Almost has his second item as well, so he can get away with murder a little bit more. Can't wait to see that clip go on to the Penta, or potentially our own little top 5. We have had some good clips in the top 5.
Man, today has been very generous to us. I mean, combined between the solo outplays and also just that 1v2, yeah, I'm happy with today.
Oh, I'm very happy with today as well. Icon pulled himself up on the top 5 as well on his Vayne last time. Very relevant in this series. Thank you. What do you think you're doing?
Damn. That is a lot of burst. Can I just say, combined between the jungle item and the flick itself, that is a lot of burst that can come out from Kasa, who shouldn't be one of the carries for his team.
I mean, you have Morel and Omicron. Kasa has such a big lead and a gold lead individually. Zatai into Icon, however, that's going to be a very different story. 2 items, just 1.5 for Zatai. Aurelia should be able to find the Conqueror stacks and win on the 1v1 trade, but I'm sure we'll find out soon as in the nature of this game. Yes! Look at this. You lose this. Hang on, Xiang, you lose this.
Dang!
Righteous Glory slowed him down. The Maiden hitting on down. The White helping out. There's the flash. Xiao flashes on in. The Roar of the Slayer slows him down. Caster finishes off the kill. In the cage, still fighting Penguin. Flick back. Lamb's respite, however. Watch for Chelly trying to condemn them out of it as into the middle of the fray. Icon finds a Hemo Plague, has to flash himself. Vanguard's edge. Zatai in the back line. Just skips a couple of beats. Absolutely travels through time and space. It's the Doc. It's Back to the Future with Zatai.
Do not ask any questions. Zatai is back and he is in form. Immediately follows up with the Xiaohu engage as well. That was so beautiful from RNG.
That was slick from Zatai, and I have been waiting for this man to show us why he deserves to be back in the top lane. And that can be such a warm, heartfelt answer.
That was 7 dashes coming out from Zatai in the last fight, and every single one crucial onto the members of OMG. Even using his passive from his ultimate to reset his Q onto multiple members. What else is there to say other than that was beautiful?
All it took was one play from the top laner of RNG. Suddenly, they're even more on top as it started with Xiaohu being so cheeky with the wife and his husband.
It was a 1v1, and then they called Ming and also Karsa in. But while all of this was happening, you have to take a look back. Icon's pretty much condemned to death, but he's not. And it's even worse that he doesn't actually die here because he gives Zatai so many dashes available. Take a look at this. Uses Icon's low HP and also Penguin's low HP. Just completely dashes and murders everybody on this Irelia.
When you see a good Irelia, that's when you go back home, you go to solo queue, and you say, I can do that too. The reality versus you. And I don't think anyone looks as good as that right now. Zatai spanks them down. And for that, RNG pull ahead to almost a 10k gold lead. In front of Baron, they stand. In front of Baron, they wait for the rest of their team to get there. And Zatai, even though he doesn't have teleport, now threatens the open inhibitor.
Look, and I said at the very start of this game that I would be mad if Xiaohu didn't get MVP, but man, Zatai put on such a performance that I wouldn't even be mad at the current moment. RNG, they are fighting for their lives. It's not cheesy because it wasn't through any strategy that wasn't expected. They played so standard, and it was pretty much just mechanics all the way around.
Yeah, there's no cheese here, only good RNG in front of us. 10k gold lead just hit as well, Breacher. Baron buff still available and alive, and Xiaohu starts threatening through this side rush to the mid lane. That inner turret, if it wants to stand, well, I'm going to tell you right now.
Got Sion in its way.
Yeah, there's a big brick in front of him. There is absolutely no way it can. So, OMG lose even more. Baron, a very real threat with the mid lane so long now. And this is going to be super hard for OMG to just walk near the pit.
And it has to be particularly depressing for OMG because right now, usually what they do is they want to trade one objective for the other, but because RNG has such good control of the entire map, take a look at the wards placed down onto the bottom side of the map as well. They can't even get anything for their split nature.
They really can't. Penguin trying to poke his head in towards the Baron, however. Xiaohu level 13. Very significant because he has the same level as Icon. So darn tanky. Spectre's Cow picked up now as well. There's 2 items in jungle, and Zatai, who's got a Titanic Hydra. 3 items on Uzi with the Wit's End picked up there by the Varus. Only 1 for Chelly. Chelly has a Blade of the Ruined King and a recurve bow. That's what you're looking at.
Yep, it's not looking too good for this Vayne.
Literally 2 items.
You definitely need that Ginzu's Rage Blade before you can even be counted in a fight as a Vayne. So let's take a look over onto the other side. One very interesting power spike that I want to talk about is Karsa, because now with the Fiendish Codex as well, he's sitting on 40% CDR. His ultimate's going to be up sooner, but we already saw the burst potential coming out of his QWE. He could do that so much in team fights.
I'm expecting to see that again because Penguin's just been caught out, knocked into the wall. Cartlam's respite. Uzi cleans him up, and guess what? RNG, they've got one name on the tip of their tongue. Let me spell it out for you. Nashor. It's time.
Nasha? Oh, it's Nasha! Baron Nasha time! Alright, let's go straight for it.
I guess Baron would have been so much easier for you.
Let's go for it.
It's going to be taken super quick as well, RNG.
I mean, there's just no contest coming out from OMG. They can't rotate any members across. They don't have Smite either. And Penguin, even though he picked up the Kindred, he couldn't even defend himself with his ultimates. I mean, there were 2 times when he could have used it, but permanently CC'd by the squad of RNG. That's a feels bad, man, for your signature pick.
It is. Preacher, there is a game that, for OMG, they don't look back on. This is a game that you go, well, RNG got us within 5 to 10 minute mark. 10-minute mark. That's a bit of a yikes.
I mean, it's more of a yikes that Xiaohu can pretty much lane into anybody as his Sion. Yeah. It's looking pretty deadly for the side of RNG. They are putting up a fight not only to secure this 2-0 victory, but also to show other teams within the league that they are up against a huge challenge, even if they go into a best of 5.
Yep, even if they go, well, I mean, you hope they go into a best of 5, of course, playoffs being all BO5. You look at this and you say, yeah, right, if we can secure 4th, which is, at this point, let's be realistic, it looks highly unlikely, but RNG still have a chance. 5th seed seems to be where they're going to cement themselves, depending on how EDG and, why do I keep forgetting? Why do we have so many teams in the LPL and I can't even remember this? Doesn't matter. EDG and Preacher, thanks for not helping me.
Yeah, you're talking about JD, right?
Yes, JDG, my God.
Man, I don't even know which direction you're going in. You need to give me a hint.
I literally don't know either. They drive on the wrong side of the road here, so man, you think I'm going to start with direction? Absolutely no way. RNG, their direction, speaking of, is just towards the Nexus at this point. And why not? Zatai in the side lane, Baron is hitting up Inhibitor turret going to be knocked on away as Ming doesn't mind tanking it up here as well. And everything but the kitchen sink left available for RNG.
You'd even imagine that that would get thrown in for good measure. However, this is the last engage, I think, and even then, RNG just do not care.
A clean game number 2. That's what it's looking like right now, but RNG don't need to end it just yet. 2 inhibitors left up and available. 1 inhibitor turret, in fact, as well. They find the Flawless Duet onto Chelly. He's half health already.
Cut off.
Zatai wants to go in. Look at him. Oh, Icon.
There goes Icon.
That's
The last
3-man
fight.
aim and Blake. They're going to make the last stand here as Icon goes golden as they get the Flawless Duet, but the turnaround immediately. Icon just gets popped on down. Zatai finds 1 reset, but can't get over the wall as Casa flashes in immediately. Condemned back to OMG, putting up a bit of a fight here in front of the inhibitor. But oh, Julia, it was just not your time. She'll die anyway. Inhibitor's next.
1 minute left on the Baron buff, and it was only a 1-for-1 trade between the jungler and also the support. It was very good execution from Icon. However, the fact that the rest of his team had to be ever vigilant of Xiaohu in the backline meant nobody could actually follow it up. And that transfusion, that Hemoplague didn't quite hit its mark.
Also important as well that Icon survived there. So, although the damage and the expectation was he'd burn them, he didn't quite come in.
And take a look at the rest of them. They all need to respect Xiaohu from cutting them off. 5 is the only person who needs to go in order to defend Xiaohu. To defend Icon.
Yep.
But meanwhile, while everything else was happening, the side of RNG with their Baron buff as well were just out-damaging them.
And they do eventually take that inhibitor in the end, so there's a double inhibitor down after the Baron play, but it's expiring now. RNG still working towards putting that final nail in as Zatai. Which one will he catch out? He's pushing up the wave. I think he sees the Vladimir, but can't get there in time. Oh, Icon stops the back. Very threatened here by Aurelia.
Needs to respect the fact that Aurelia could have stunned him up. I think that this is pretty much Zatai showing his dominance in this 1v1 to make sure that Icon has as bad of a time as possible. Can't even reach his power spike safely. Couldn't even go back to base at all. I'm feeling for the side of OMG. They can't even get their items in order to contest.
I mean, 3-item Vladimir, he's doing enough damage as is, and has definitely hit one of his spikes, but Icon will just have to back away. Ming flashes out of the cage. RNG on the last inhibitor turret as Weaver's Wall comes on through. They nail them down. Something Shove dodged away as Icon comes in with the Heaven Plague, but it's only onto Ming. He may be able to take down the support, but he dies before he can. RNG coming with the flank. Xiang knocked up again. Zatai putting the finishing touches in as well. And that'll be it for OMG. But for RNG on their final series of the Spring 2019 split, everyone comes up huge. Carter in the early game, Xiaohu in the 1v2, Zatai smacks through the enemy side, and RNG are getting ready for playoffs with their huge individual carries.
RNG showing exactly what it's like to be a world-class team. Eventually runs it up mid. Who cares about running it down mid? They're running all the way up the ladder to make sure that they play as fewer games as possible in the playoffs, securing this 2-0 against OMG. Put it very safely in 5th, maybe even 4th.
That's right, they secure themselves top 5 here, and that means for teams like Sinodragon, BLG, and WE, they cannot go further than 5th. Due to RNG's performance. So that's a very strong win for them for the end of the split. And for RNG, a couple of questions back and forth, but although there was some early game shenanigans after being so far ahead for RNG, they closed that out perfectly, showing you why their team fights are so damn concise.
This is good. This is good. And the thing that I love most about this series is the fact that they didn't show any cheesy strategies that they will inevitably practice for playoffs. What they did was they just outplayed mechanically. And against OMG, not showing any of your strategies means that you got more up your sleeve when you head into playoffs.
It really does. And heading towards playoffs is their next objective, setting themselves up to run themselves through the gauntlet. Starting at the most likely very early stages of it as well. OMG, their last hurrah against RNG, of course they do have another series, let's not forget, but against RNG, bringing in Xiang in game number 2, it was worth a try. I mean, technically it was fine.
It looked good because you needed a counter for Xiaohu getting a massive 1v2 outplay. What do? You rotate the Yorick in. Unfortunately, it didn't work for them because they just couldn't find any avenues to take the fights to RNG.
All right, OMG. I'll see you later. That's great. See you, mate. But RNG, I now go, okay, cool. So what am I seeing in this team that could hurt them later on? Uzi's having some interesting games because he's having some great games and then he's having some poor games.
I mean, in the first game, he was caught out a bit, but in the second game, we weren't even touching on him, and he was just free firing in the back.
I mean, he was
That's
caught
how
out.
influential
He was caught out in the top lane with Ming as well. Like that was one play where you're like, okay, RNG, you've been doing this quite a lot against Sino Dragon, against Invictus Gaming. These were some of your issues.
And they didn't quite tighten it up. I mean, it looked better than the loss against Sino Dragons, but still, they needed to make sure that they didn't actually find these fights without actually having all 5 members across. You saw the cogs turning because all of them had globals in order to join the top lane fight, but none of them used it in time, and Uzi died.
It was so much better than the series against Sino Dragon because it was a win. Like, just saying.
Yeah.
Just saying, against Sino Dragon, it was, a very different story for RNG. In this game, you said early on, well, Xiaohu needs to get MVP, and I agree, so I'll wait and see what happens. But Zatai, Ning, Karsa, I would look at Karsa and say, he had such a good early game.
Oh, yeah.
The bottom side ganks early on with Talia are just disgusting.
The double focus as well, because if you go bot lane and you burn a flash, you go straight again, they don't have a flash. Even into a Tahm Kench, you can bop 2 people for 1, even if you eat somebody up. Absolutely. It is a really good counter pick, and I think that going into playoffs, if you see the enemy draft Tahm Kench, which is a very nice favorite coming into the LPL, all of a sudden you have a good counter for it.
Yeah, you really do. In the bottom lane, we're like, hey, let's pick the Varus up. Let's go with Galio once again. Different priority. First pick Sion there for Xiaohu. Playing with the double flex a little bit.
I thought that it was bold, but now we see exactly why they did it. It looked really good for Xiaohu in the mid lane. I'm not too certain that this is something that they practice extensively, but I like it because when you take a look at their composition, Irelia in the top lane, you got an ADC like always, and you also got a Sion in the mid lane. You have a Talia doing your magic damage. Take a look at this. Split damage between both of them means that there's no way that Xiang could have possibly even outplayed this. And look, while we are watching a death coming out from Xiang, I still have to say that his play did look very solid coming into this game. But the setting sun, as his name does mean in Mandarin, is unfortunately going to have to be just that in this series.
That was so clean from Xiaohu and Karsa. Like, that synergy was so good to watch. That was the cleanest play, and that got Uzi 3 kills. It's like, hey, guess what we're doing once again? Well, we're getting Uzi ahead, and where are we going? Bottom lane. That's exactly what happened. After you give 3 kills to your Varus AD carry from there, looks like it's over.
Playing all around it. I liked it, but once again, talking about the play in the top lane, like, it could have been a really good play. Think about it, right? Like, if they joined about 10 seconds earlier, it could have been a really good one. So, RNG just need to, first of all, communicate where they are and how long it will take to get there, and second of all, back off if it's not actually their time to make the play.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, a good story to set up there for playoffs for RNG. And now that we got Zatai in the roster, I guess we can answer our question and say, all right, what is the difference and what do we look at between Amazing J and Zatai?
I mean, you could never flex Amazing J into the mid lane, could you? So that's obviously one advantage that you could definitely give over to Zatai.
Actually, that's a very good point. I've never seen that kind of flexibility in that, all right, we'll play around different lanes. So I was very surprised to see that in game number 1. But then again, I was like, well, it is Zatai. And moving around with Xiaohu, who's our game 2 MVP after that 1v2, goes to show you that RNG, what's dead may never die. And RNG's mid laner, he didn't even die.
Yeah, I was about to say, you were going to talk about the zombie coming back to life. Didn't even happen once for Xiaohu. Combined between the 1v2 outplay in the mid lane and also the immediate gank bot lane without even backing, you got to give this guy props because he came up huge to not only get himself ahead from the mechanical outplay, but also do the rotation to get his team ahead.
I love how the damage percentage, 19% for a Sion, is pretty good, by the way. So
it's not bad.
Still pretty decent. Damage taken was a highlight at 30% because Xiaohu just lived so darn long.
And it's also an early rush Sterak's. When you do that, you have the shield, you have the extra HP as well, so you're doing the damage with the Sterak's. What else can you say? It's just a beautiful pick.
And you're like, wow, I just got 1v2 there by a Sion. Move the Vladimir to the top side of the map. Bring the Yorick into the mid lane. And then Karsa joins, and he dies as well. So there was no safe place for OMG in that game.
I'm just going to highly question OMG there and say if that Sion is literally twice your level at 6 compared to a level 3 Kindred, maybe don't visit him until you're a higher level.
Yeah, potentially. Yeah. I mean, Sion just ulted into him in the end as well. There's, I guess, one last question is that, we talked about the versatility of Zatai versus Amazing J. I really do want to answer this question as to whether this is the right choice going forward to keep Zatai in the roster versus what we talked about with Amazing J.
It looks better with him because in all honesty, even though Karsa isn't really focusing the top side, and Zatai is a player who needs resources in order to get ahead. I mean, you saw that last Irelia game. He was waiting patiently until he could get that perfect fight in the bottom lane. He has the patience, and he doesn't go for the 1v1s if he doesn't 100% know that he can take them. So So I think that now that they've played sufficiently enough games with him, they should be looking in better form than if they had AJ for playoffs.
It's 3 different series that we've seen Zatai. It's 3 different series that we've seen the new RNG lineup.
We've seen 3 different Zatais, right?
We've seen 3 very different Zatais. I think we've actually seen 3 very different unique champions on him as well. Like the Rise, we've seen Tanks. What else have we seen?
I mean,
Kale?
Yeah, we just saw just then, right? He also took
Aurelia.
Yep.
What else? Man, I don't know. We've seen so much on Zatai. We've seen so much of RNG, but we see no more. That's their 15 games done and dusted. It's like going to bowling and the screen says, better luck next time, except this time it says, congratulations, you're in playoffs. This is where it all comes down to it. For RNG, remember I said, they're guaranteed top 5. They're still looking for... that 4th seed, you go straight to the quarterfinals, Preacher.
And it always depends on the team surrounding them. So we were talking at the start of the day about JD and WE being in contention and the other 2 fighting it out being Sino Dragons and Bilibili. Got to watch out for that one in the later week.
And EDG and RNG, let's not forget, like, they are trying to fight it out themselves. EDG and RNG was a series earlier on in the split. Let's not forget that these teams are... they're relying on each other, essentially. EDG and JDG, that is. So they're the 2 teams fighting with each other. WE, SDG, and Bilibili are in their own little bubble, too.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens. But Preacher, on a side note as well, like, it's not all over just yet. We do have one more match of the week, by the way, which I am so cheeky. I forgot to tell you guys about this a little bit earlier, but I should tell you right on now. EDG need that win. And you know how they're going to have to find it? Invictus Gaming. How do you find that win when IG are just looking so darn good?
And whenever you talk about IG, you always have to talk about their top lane, right? It's going to have to be a huge focus on the Shy, so Ray has to carry up against them as well. It is definitely a very difficult matchup. However, because EDG have been looking better and better with Clearlove back on the roster, I think that it's certainly doable for them.
It really is. Invictus Gaming, EDG coming up, and you look at where it is, like it's... just the perfect timing. Thank you so much. Coming up as one of our final match days as well.
Yeah, I mean, that one's going to be one of the most hyped ones, simply because if EDG can pull up an upset, all of a sudden they're challenging against RNG for seeding as well. If they don't, then IG will be placing even higher. It'll definitely determine exactly how playoffs is going to look like.
Yeah, IG looking to secure that 2nd spot after FPX, of course. But English broadcast will be back on Saturday. But first of all, you got to see what happens on the Friday, because Thursday's the 1 day off for the Chinese broadcast, but they will be returning themselves for WE versus Rogue Warriors, which is a very important matchup.
And right after that, we also have LGD and Snake. That is going to be a highlight as well.
Nah, bugger it,
no.
Preacher.
Highlight it for Nibiru.
No, I don't care.
Right.
WE and Rogue Warriors is the only thing I take away from this day. WE are the only team still in playoff standings. If WE lose this matchup, there is a reality where, okay, they have JDG as their final week, and they cannot leave it up to that.
And I've been hyping up WE all of this time, so I need to maybe take it down a peg. They do look better than Rogue Warriors, but they do not look in perfect form when you compare them to the teams that are already locked in. So if we want to see WE really lock it in, they have to get a clean 2-0 against Rogue Warriors. They need to show good early game, and they need to show good team fights as well.
They got 2 series left, some of the most left here in the LPL. But English returns on Saturday, and Saturday, that is when we find our match of the week at the very last series. FPX already secured first, so they're just having fun at this point. But TOP and BLG, my lord, that's an important one too.
Very important for BLG. If they do not 2-0 TOP, which is an uphill battle, I'm not going to lie, then they are finding themselves in a very difficult position, because they will have to look at their results against Sino Dragons to see which one progresses and which one does not actually make playoffs.
Yeah, Sino Dragon will be coming in the last day at LPL as well. Let's not forget IG EDG match of the week on the very last game of the Saturday. I'm excited for that one, because IG still need to secure where they finally sit. And EDG, as you mentioned before, they're still looking to go up in the standings, remembering that EDG secured their playoff dreams back again in the LPL when they said we said they wouldn't make it.
Positioning, and never count EDG out, because every single time they are in playoffs, they always make a very deep run. Let's see if they can do it again.
They do. EDG make playoffs. RNG do as well. That's their final series of today for RNG. I've been rambling on enough. Preacher, thank you very much for joining me and the rest of our production. We'll be back on Saturday for the English broadcast for Match of the Week.
Woo!
Friday, more LPL.